So here we are again. This is my old Echo SRM-210 weed trimmer. Haven't used it in a few years because I've been using a lawn service, but there's a few spots around the edges of the property that they don't trim, and I thought I'd grab it up and do a little clipping. Before I got started, of course, you look around, one of the first things I noticed was the primer bulb was shot. I dug around a little bit, found a spear that I had, replaced it, but the closer you look, you realize hoses are stiff or bad, and it was going to need a little bit more of attention before I used it. So put it back down and went out, did a little searching on Amazon to see what they had for hose kits and whatever else I needed. And wouldn't you know, come up with another carburetor kit. It was only around the $13 range, and I have my temptations, so decided to give it a shot. Now this one is by Tuneup parts, and you can see it is for the SRM-210, so that's about as close as you could get to a match. Now let's take a look at what we have here. This is the kit. It has the tank grommet, hoses already set up, ready to install, filter, vent, all ready to go. I already dug around on this tank a little bit, so these hoses are loose. So let's pull that out. And you can see I can't even bend this hose, it's so stiff. All shot, grommet, worn out. I think this is fairly common once these units have a few years on them. But fortunately, this new kit will fit in just fine. Okay, so also included, we do have a couple of primer balls, or bulbs. Even comes with a extra tank grommet, which is, okay, it's a larger one, so I guess depending on your application, you'll be using one or the other. I guess there's a weed trimmer and an edger that use similar parts, and that might be where the difference is. Has a new air filter. And in this bag, we have a carburetor, gasket kit, and a spark plug. Now, spark plug looks like it's a 7LT, so I will look that up and verify what we have. So let's open this air filter up. Here's our old air filter element and the new. It is a direct replacement, so we're good with that. And let's see. Could already see this has a NGK spark plug in it, which is nice. what's it look like? Wow, actually, for the amount of use on this machine, that plug is not too bad looking. Decent color, just a little bit of carbon around the edges. And we have an NGK BPM8Y that's in it. So I'll be back in a little bit. I want to cross-reference this, see what we have. Okay, after a quick search, it appears this 7LT is a Torch brand, and it seems to be a different heat range than the NGK that was in the Echo. The Torch as a L7T is equivalent to an NGK BMP7A or BMP6A, where this is an 8Y. So I'm not sure that I want to use that plug. I think I might first try just cleaning up the original plug a little bit and sticking with that until I get the correct match plug. So that's one discrepancy in this kit. And let's dig into the carburetor and see how close that matches. Alright, I'm going to put a piece of tape over this gas tank hole, try to keep garbage out of it. And see what we have here. This trimmer certainly is straightforward to work on, very accessible. And it looks like, there we go. So let's compare these carburetors once again a little closer. So there are a couple very subtle differences. These mounting holes are a little larger on the new one. Should not be a very big deal. The bodies of the carburetors themselves look to be the same size. Actually, if I do it like this, so they look somewhat identical. Hopefully the jetting is the same. So let me finish cleaning up the intake port on the trimmer, and we'll get this new carburetor mounted. Alright. New gaskets. I think while the carburetor is still off, I'm going to take this opportunity to get the hose grommet in. So we'll fish the filter in and get this pressed into place. Certainly More of a snug fit than the one that came out. And just a little bit more, we'll have it in. And that looks good. Now for the new carburetor. So we have our screws. The old one didn't have a gasket on the back. Let's see. I don't think this will really matter. Giving clearance to the choke lever, so that should be fine. And then this inside gasket. Needs to line up with the vent holes. So that will go on this way. All right. And now let's get this throttle hooked up. So the new one came with a new brass fitting, which was decent, even though the old one was okay. And let's see. And just a little bit more, we're almost there. Ah, there it is. Okay, that looks good. Get our hoses reconnected. Here's the new air filter. That in place. Okay. All right, now for the spark plug. Like I said, I'm going to try it with the original NGK because the new one is a different heat range. This plug's in pretty good condition, so it should be fine enough to run. And in the meantime, I'll order the correct replacement. Oh, let me check the gap. Gap on this plug, what I saw in the manual, should be around 0.65 millimeter or 0.26. And this is an 0.26 feeler gauge. And that fits in the gap with a little bit of friction, so it's still right on. Won't have to mess around with that. Get this plug in. good enough. All right. So there we have it. New carburetor installed. Fits just like the original for the most part. Certainly looks like it. We'll bring it out and make our judgment. See how well it cuts. Well, as luck would have it, I no sooner went to start the trimmer, my phone shut down. Didn't realize it, but you could see from the video it was certainly running and trimming with no problem. I primed it up, gave it some choke, 2 pulls, it gave a little burp, shut the choke off. The next pull it fired right up. Smoothed out, did pretty good. The only thing I noticed, the idle was up a little bit. I only backed out about a little more than 1 turn of the idle screw, just enough for the spool head to stop spinning. No fancy tack or anything. That was good enough, and it stayed idling. It didn't try to die on me, so pretty smooth. Do I think this was worth it? Absolutely. For what it costs, this whole kit was only about $13. Between getting all the gaskets, even have the extra primer bulbs, air filter, spark plug. Yeah, it's the wrong heat range, but for about $5 you could get the exact replacement NGK plug for this trimmer, so that's not a big deal. Hoses, why worry about your hoses? For less than $20 you could put one of these kits on once a year if you wanted to, and never have to worry about these problems for your season. So I certainly consider this a win, and I hope it helps somebody out there with their decisions. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.